Okay, so hi everyone. I'm gonna be. My name is Sini, um, and I've been writing apps 3 years now, professionally 2 years. I'm gonna be talking about in-app tutorial, and if any of you thought that's gonna be about in-app purchases, you're in for a surprise, because it's not about that. So, just a little bit about the background, like why I'm giving this talk is. Um, we all think that each app is unique and that to some part we're correct in that sense. But also, apps are like snowflakes, and if you just try to download apps that are tracking your log time, like how much you work, or maybe you're tracking your budget or daily expenses, they're all very similar, except each of them has like, oh, I can do this better, or this feature is much better in our app, and similarities can be sometimes blurred, and if each feature, if it really adds more value to your app, you want to make sure that it actually comes across as a strong point. And some people won't pick it up, especially if you're just looking at your screenshots. You don't really get the full feel for it. So if your app is really special, and let's say, for instance, you every time when you log in or you come into your page, you're in the middle of that snowflake. Everywhere you go is like another feature or something that you can do in the app. Users can get easily lost in it, and it takes a while to actually explore the whole app depending on your size of the app. So one of the reasons why you should build a tutorial is just to highlight your feature, the best one that you have done, or maybe something that you just have done recently, and you just want to say, hey, now we can do this as well. Export to PDF or sync with Dropbox, whatever. But it really helps to bring attention to the new stuff. So and then you have two ways commonly. One is called introduction, which is usually just a slide of screens in a carousel, and people often choose to just skip all that. They don't even want to read through that. And the other way is what I'm going to talk about is maybe I should call it just-in-time tutorial. So when you get to the specific page or a specific menu, then and there you actually show, click here if you want to see more, or if you press this button, you're going to get this or that. So you can always, of course, roll your own, and you can always choose libraries. I really wanted to get something that I can get off the shelf and just put in my app, because that was pretty much the only feature that wasn't really done by the time I wanted to release my app, and I had pretty much 24 hours to meet my own deadline. And I just went through a few libraries. First one that I found was Material Interview, and that one didn't work for me. I'll tell you why, and then I went to another one, and then went to another one. But just I wanted to give you a brief overview of everything. You can see that pretty much this is by Git's numbers is pretty much the underdog, but just had a very appealing name, Material, because my app was fully Material, so I just wanted to kind of give it a go. And then in the end, I really settled with the last one. But I really want to tell you that you should keep an open mind, even though I haven't really went with these two. They are worth looking into, and maybe in the future, like soon future, they're going to be a better a library than they are at the moment. I just want to, there's a lot of similarities between them. It feels like they were copying of each other, and it kind of helps you with because they can easily, if you don't like one, you can almost drop in replace with another library, and you're good to go. They all have this build pattern, right, which is very familiar if you're building dialogues, where you can just set the main stuff like a target and text, and then just show. There are other ones in the builders that I'll go in deeper on each of the libraries, and then all of them have something broken with the chain views. If you want to just fire multiple ones on one screen without using actually like having a chance to go away, you want to say here this, here that. Somehow they're all broken in a specific way. Another similarity maybe is the key elements on each of the they're pretty much composed of the layout, the image over there. Like you have an overlay that you can maybe change color or maybe give it alpha. Then you have like a pointer that you can choose to show or not. You have this little circle that surrounds the target, which you can choose how big it's going to be, which is a gap into. The rest of the stuff gets pretty much faded away or just hidden by the overlay. And you have this little label at the bottom that in most of the libraries is just pure text. You can't even inflate it with your own view, but it's enough. You can just put a little bit of text with a break line, and gets you going quickly. The other maybe downside of everything, but you can't really avoid it in this case, is strong coupling with UI. You always need to give it a view that you want to show the stuff around, which is called a target, and you have to give it, of course, the context or the activity. So this is the first library. All these images, on all three of them, you'll see they're actually taken off Readme. So I'm trying not to be biased. Whatever they presented, I'm presenting here to you guys. This is the material one that I went with first, and you can see it looks very material, and it does all the stuff, but just in a very simple way. At this point, you can't even change, let's say, the icon. You can maybe choose to hide it. This library specifically is still officially in beta, and the guys that started, they said, we have seen something similar that wasn't really material, and we just wanted to build our own, and we're just now opening the source to everyone. In that sense, because it's very immature, I would say, or not quite there yet, it has a very low level of customization from the outside through that builder. If you really want to do any customization, you have to almost re-implement the whole class. You can't even just extend and just change and override a few methods, because the way they've written the code is everything is in some kind of private variables. You can't even override it. One nice thing it actually has its own tracker whether or not has been shown, like a whole thing, by using the set usage ID. So if you provide it with some unique ID in a string form, it stores everything in shared preferences on its own, and then it just, if you call it again, you don't have to kind of do your own tracking whether or not that has been shown. It will just skip over it if it's been already shown by the seen by the user. And it has its own, again, like a micro builder, which is called material intro configuration. And you can set up the very standard stuff like the animation, intro and out. You can just set up in one point, and just every time when you build something like a new view, you just say use this configuration, and it just takes it. So you don't have to kind of repeat that code. Maybe on a downside, it has bitmap leak or out of memory crashes, especially when you're calling like sequences of builders, when you're trying to kind of go through a few points on the same screen. It's not really the usage where you just don't clear it, it's just the library, the way they're handling it. And it's very exposed on API 16. And then it has issues that appears even if the target is out of focus, and they're all tracked as bug issues in the in GitHub, and I don't see a lot of people contributing. So, and the main like owner is actually very quiet about it. And the one reason why I dropped this whole library is because it didn't really work with the view pager, because I was trying to point something in the middle of the view that was empty view, but it actually calculated the height incorrectly, and it was trying to set everything at the bottom and then adding the height, which ended up actually going outside of the screen. And just to fix it, I had to re-implement the whole class, pretty much write the 60% of the library again, or copy, and then just change how they calculate the height. So that was the only reason why I dropped that whole thing. It hasn't been fixed since, but I think it's a very good candidate, in the future if you want to, or maybe if you're not using view pages, at least. The next one is probably the one that's definitely the one that has the highest number of forks and has the highest level of people watching it. And if you even just see the README, you'll see that the guy is saying that it's used by Google, and all these apps used to be used by The Guardian. Whether or not that's true, I can't confirm, but it's actually a very old library in sense it's been there for a while. Version 4 is officially like end of life, has reached, and then the owner has started again from 5. He's slowly implementing new stuff in a better way and porting stuff from 4. So you can still get the 4 from, I think, Maven, or build from his Git repo, from a branch or tag. But you can. He's saying that he will slowly actually migrate everything from 4. So if people are complaining, where is this feature, you just have to kind of sit and wait or do it yourself for a while. But it's actually, there's a lot of activity. Even today, I've received 5 emails. He merged 5 different commits and resolved at least, I think, 6 or 7 issues, which were some of them were related. So it looks nice. It's easy to use. The downside was it just didn't work with AppCompat v7, and the author says, I won't fix this. Apparently, if you're using the new toolbar from the latest or v7 AppCompat, it just crashes because it can't find specific toolbar, even if you're not showing it. And he said, oh, it sees, he does actually provide a very small method where you can implement your own way to kind of get it, to get, I guess, dimensions of the whole thing. But he said he won't be fixing it because Google keeps changing it, and until they settle, on the proper API, he won't officially support it. And then I'm not saying that's a downside, it's just on that screen. There's a lot of open issues, but there's a lot of also closed issues, which actually speaks for how well maintained the library app is. But the only reason why I didn't actually use it because I didn't want to ditch my Compass V7 library, so that's why I moved on. Other than that, I think the library is pretty decent. The one that I actually went with in the end is called Tour Guide. It's somewhere in between the first and the second in terms of how many people have forked it or following. Yeah, you recognize the screen. That's where I took this is the only thing they have on the screen, but the library has the highest level of customization. Anything that you see here, you can change the color, you can change the animation, you can modify a lot of it just through their API. Maybe 2 weeks ago, they actually implemented that this whole circle used to be clickable, and so if you want to show a few things and you're expecting to use it to click outside, to close it, to move on to the next one, if they clicked in here, that will actually trigger the proper click on the app, and it would go maybe to a different screen, so you couldn't prevent that. There was no, unless you wanted to kind of override it, so they've actually done a flag so that little kind of circle will not pass the click through, and so you can actually just continue with your let's say chain of overlays, and that was done recently. Yeah, on the downside, there's nothing really that I could find for this library, so that's why I kind of went with that one. That's it, pretty much. I'm just going to show you the overview once again. If you want to take a photo, or that's it.